Christopher Rufo, you've seen these themes in Florida, but also across the country. Can you just give an overview of some of the kind of the most, I guess, appalling examples of how they're using this concept?
Absolutely. It's great to be here, Governor. And what I would do is I'd share the examples that I found in my reporting. I've done an investigative series on four Florida public universities, looking into their DEI programming, doing the Sunshine Document requests, and getting their materials. And I found that they really practiced four key behaviors, four key concepts. The first is that they're turning the DEI offices into ideological programs that push critical race theory as the default ideology of the university. For example, at Florida State University, they've created a social justice ally training program that denounces the United States as a matrix of oppression that has resulted in, quote, racism, classism, religious oppression, sexism, heterosexism, gender oppression, ableism, adultism, and xenophobia. They categorize white students, faculty, and staff as an oppressor group, guilty of cultural racism that attribute normality to white people and whiteness. Christians are also held as oppressors, guilty of religious oppression and, quote, Christian privilege. And they encourage all of these members of that class to use their unearned privilege against themselves and, quote, destroy the system. The second thing that these universities are doing through their DEI programming is creating hiring practices that reward racial identity over quality of scholarship. At the University of Central Florida, they've published a document that I've obtained called Equitable Inclusive Hiring. They say that merit is a, quote, myth that advances racism and must be corrected through active discrimination on behalf of what they called minoritized groups. They have a whole system in order to stack the deck against white applicants and perhaps sometimes Asian applicants. They litter their buzzwords and job announcements across the system. They promote racial equity, social justice, anti-racist. They mention specific ethnicities. And they actually have a out-and-out quota system. And so the university recommends that if during the hiring process they don't have racial minorities at the end of the application in their final application round, that they should eliminate that group altogether and start from the beginning. Third, at the University of South Florida, we see this. They have racially segregated student programs and scholarships. USF's Counseling Center had racially segregated counseling programs, dividing students on the basis of race. And like all the other Florida public universities, they administer this one administers at least 8 racially segregated scholarship programs, some for specific groups and others that actually offer the scholarship to all groups except for white students. Of course, because they're designated as oppressors within this framework. And finally, what is the goal of DEI programming? It's to turn students into left-wing activists. At Florida International University, their social justice badge program recruits, trains, and deploys student activists with the goal of, quote, redistribution of power and achieving equity or equality of outcomes. They train students actually how to prepare for violent protests. They lavish praise on Black Lives Matter, Me Too, and the March for Our Lives anti-gun movement. They only promote left-wing social activism. And then they tell students, bring a bandana to cover your nose and mouth. Download a messaging app that has end-to-end encryption because they're training students how to participate in violent protests without getting caught. These are just some of the programs that are happening right now in Florida's public universities. As a trustee of New College, we've abolished our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We're no longer doing anything like this. And I hope that this model can be replicated through legislation throughout the Florida public university system.